The VR Dominion had subjugated 1,000 universes. They had annihilated battle fleets, razed entire civilizations, and reduced proud species into footnotes of galactic history. Now, as their Grand War Council convened to deliberate upon the imminent downfall of humanity, their expectations were unanimous. It would be a swift and overwhelming conquest. 6 hours? Declared the warlords, observing the simulations projected before them, holographic visions of human fleets crumbling into cosmic dust. Confidence saturated the chamber, for in precisely 7 minutes, the Dominion's reign would unknowingly meet its end. The VR High Council chamber pulsed with a cold, unsettling azure glow. Thousands of holograms floated midair, each depicting a unique variation of Earth's impending obliteration. The room was steeped in silence, disturbed only by the deep, resonant voice of High Exorus. 6 hours? He repeated solemnly. The chamber remained motionless, absorbing his words as if they were the utterance of fate itself. 6 hours and their defenses will collapse. 6 hours and their navies will be reduced to ashes. 6 hours and the final human will kneel before the might of the Dominion. A wave of satisfaction swept through the assembly. The VR Dominion had dismantled 1,000 realms. They had transformed entire civilizations into nothing more than distant memories. To them, humanity would be no different. General Zavon, his metallic carapace gleaming beneath the Council's pale light, lazily waved his claws. "This is a mere formality," he scoffed. "The humans are defiant, yes, but defiance crumbles before the inevitability of supremacy." Karis, narrowing his reptilian eyes, gestured toward the war map before them. A fleet 10,000 strong, the Dominion's deadliest armada, was already traversing the stars, creeping across the cosmos like a plague. "Commence the invasion," he ordered. The words sent a deep vibration through the chamber. The Dominion's finest ships surged into hyperspace. The war, in their minds, was already decided. But they were wrong. In the void beyond Jupiter, reality twisted as the Dominion's fleet emerged from hyperspace, darkening the starlight. These were not mere ships, they were weapons of planetary extinction, each designed to obliterate entire worlds with ease. They believed the humans possessed no equivalent power. Aboard the Dominion's flagship, Karis leaned forward, mandibles twitching, eyes locking onto the pitiful sight ahead. Before them floated a human fleet, barely a tenth the size any rational strategist would consider sufficient. Karis expected desperation. He anticipated chaos, last-minute scrambles, or futile posturing. Instead, humanity's fleet stood there, arranged not with frantic disorder but with eerie, deliberate indifference. A challenge. An insult. "Fire upon their lead vessels," Karis commanded. "Let them comprehend their mistake before we erase them from the stars." Across the Dominion's fleet, planet-killer cannons charged, humming with raw energy, each weapon locking onto its designated target. Silence. A heartbeat. Then nothing. A glitch? A flicker? Reality itself seemed to warp. Displays before Karis scrambled with impossible readings. The weapon's master, voice trembling, broke the silence. "Targets have vanished." Karis's gaze snapped to the viewport. The human fleet was still there, and yet it was not. Suddenly, the targeting systems revealed millions of human warships, vessels that, by all known logic, should not exist. They should have been detected long before the battle began. "This is impossible," Karis hissed. Then, without warning, the first 2,000 Dominion ships erupted into fiery oblivion. Karis barely had time to react when a voice, calm and cold, reverberated through the command channel, carrying the chilling weight of certainty. "You believe this to be a war," the voice said. A pause. "No. This is extermination." The voice belonged to none other than the infamous human commander, Ares, Reaper, Draven. Panic infected the Dominion ranks. This was not war. The Dominion had never faced invisible fleets, never encountered an adversary capable of striking before the first shot was even fired. They were supposed to be the predators, the inevitable. Yet now, their ships were dying soundlessly. From the silent abyss of space, humanity struck. Not with brute force, but with precision honed to perfection. Railgun slugs accelerated to relativistic speeds effortlessly bypassed Dominion energy shields, carving through vital systems before the crews even realized they were under attack. Warships collapsed inward as tachyon artillery twisted time itself, annihilating ships before they even arrived at their designated positions. Karis roared as yet another cluster of Dominion ships flared out of existence, vanishing from the battle without a chance to respond. "We are being hunted!" cried one of the tactical officers, his voice splitting through the centuries of arrogance that had blinded them. Another detonation rocked the flagship. Karis stumbled, claws digging into the cold metal. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. No one answered. Only another voice, desperate and terrified, broke through, this time from one of the outer warlords. We must retreat! Cowards!" Karis bellowed. He had never known fear. He had never tasted defeat. Yet, standing amidst the chaos, watching his grand armada fall apart within mere minutes, a foreign sensation churned in his stomach, pure terror. "Stand your ground!" he screamed. But his command was lost beneath the deafening collapse of the Dominion. But then, without warning, came the final horror. From within the human ranks, a weapon emerged, one not listed in any known military database, not whispered of even in the deepest fears of the Dominion's intelligence circles. One of humanity's mythical heaven's wrath cannons activated. It was a weapon that, by all standards of physics, ought not to exist, and yet it did. Before the Dominion's horrified eyes, space itself ruptured. A singularity formed amidst their armada, tearing a wound through the very fabric of reality. The cosmos screamed. Stars flickered. Gravitational waves rippled across light years as thousands of Dominion warships were simply unmade. Their matter twisted, stretched, and was devoured. Their commanders never even managed to speak their last words. They were erased, bodies and souls swallowed whole. Karis collapsed into his command seat, his claws trembling. His once unstoppable empire was not being beaten, it was being methodically, surgically erased. Humanity had not come to contest them. Humanity had come to finish them. The intercom crackled once again. The human commander's voice returned, cold and measured. "High Exorus," Draven called, deliberately using Karis' honorific. Silence. Karis knew. He understood. There was no reply he could give, for he had no power left to wield, no threat left to issue, no words worth speaking. Draven's voice remained calm, steady, without an ounce of sympathy. "Your empire thought itself eternal. You believed you could defy reality itself. You believed you could stand against us." His words struck like a slow, deliberate knife. A pause. "Now, across the stars, your people will whisper but a single name." Karis summoned what little strength remained, his voice barely a whisper, desperate to know the identity of their executioner. "What name?" A faint chuckle responded, not one of amusement, but one of certainty, of absolute finality. "Humanity." The transmission ended. Karis barely had time to process the word before the alarms on the bridge flashed crimson. A cold mechanical voice issued the final warning. "Event horizon identified." The last thing Karis saw was not the face of his enemy, but the very collapse of space itself. His fleet spiraled helplessly toward the singularity. Desperate, he tried to plead. "If you destroy us, the other empires will rise against you." On the Nemesis, Ares Draven's lips curled into something that resembled a smile, but lacked any trace of warmth. "They already fear us." He let the silence linger, letting the words sink like a dagger. Then, after a breath, he added, "And do you know why?" Karis dared not answer. Draven's voice remained soft, yet sharp enough to cut steel. "Because when we wage war," he leaned forward, eyes glowing faintly with cold determination, "we do not conquer." His eyes glinted with lethal intent. "We eliminate." Without ceremony, a single command flashed across the systems of the remaining Dominion fleet. "Priority command, AI override, commence final protocol." Karis's throat tightened. "What have you done?" he gasped. The tactical officer beside him paled, his face draining of color. They have activated the self-destruct protocols across the entire fleet. Karras staggered backwards. No! That is impossible! Draven's voice returned one final time, distant, quiet, yet final. We do not need your empire. Karras opened his mouth, a panicked plea for mercy clawing its way up his throat. Wait! Before the word could finish, the first explosion erupted at the Dominion's core. Then another. Then another. Across the vast battlefield, every single Dominion vessel, every dreadnought, every cruiser, every support ship, exploded in unison. Bridges ruptured. Engines tore themselves apart. The very sky turned into a field of violent, synchronized death. Karras's vision blurred as the bridge decompressed, the atmosphere wrenching itself into the void. His body floated weightlessly, spiraling out into the cold expanse. His claws flailed, desperately searching for anything to cling to. But there was nothing. Nothing but the endless dark. The last thing Karras saw was Earth, distant and untouched, unbothered by the cataclysm playing out beyond its orbit. The final thing he heard was Draven's voice, now a whisper. You should have killed us when you had the chance. Then silence. The aftermath. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The Dominion was no more. 1,000 species turned their fearful eyes towards Earth. A simple, terrifying truth took root in every heart and every council chamber. Humanity did not wage war. Humanity waged extinction. The silence of space was broken only by the fading echoes of a shattered empire. Karras had been wrong. The war did not last 6 hours. It barely lasted 6 minutes. The Dominion's fleet was gone. The void where they had once held dominion now held only broken hulls, drifting debris, and the smoldering wreckage of arrogance. Where once the most feared war machine in known space stood, now only fragments remained, twisted metal and dead ships, hollow husks of dreadnoughts wandering aimlessly. The surviving warlords, those few who remained on the edges of the battlefield, screamed into their comms, begging for orders, reinforcements, salvation. None came. Humanity had seen to that. On the bridge of the Nemesis, Commander Ares Draven stood motionless, gazing out at the void. His second-in-command, Admiral Rohr, stepped forward, voice tense and uncertain. What are your orders, sir? Draven did not blink. His eyes remained fixed upon the remnants of the once mighty Dominion. No survivors. Rohr hesitated. Some of their ships are attempting to retreat. Their shields are down. They are helpless. Draven's eyes flicked toward him. No further words were needed. The warning was in his gaze. Rohr nodded. Understood. The final stage began. There would be no mercy. No negotiations. No survivors. Humanity had once offered peace, a silent invitation to leave the Sol system untouched. The Dominion had refused. Now, there would be no second offer. Charge the Omega Array. Draven ordered without emotion. The Nemesis trembled, its core humming as the power of a planet killer surged through its circuits. This was not a weapon designed to conquer, nor to intimidate. It was built to erase.